Hello, this is Deadpan Sam, and tonight I was just going to engage in a bit of a free-flowing pick and mix of horror films over the past 35 years or so, starting off with Last House on the Left and ending with Cloverfield and Paranormal Activity, both of which are found footage films. And I wanted to start with Last House on the Left, a film I don't think is that great. I don't think it's a particularly brilliant film. But it did mark the beginning of an era of if you like, sadistic horror films, and if you like, kicked off the modern spatter genre. And for those of you who haven't seen Last House on the Left, it's the usual, teenage girls go out in search of fun and get a lot more than they bargained for. Although it has a fantastic sort of twist where the parents of one of the girls wreaks revenge with a chainsaw. And this was a chainsaw used before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'll have you know. So Last House on the Left has terrible synthesizer music as a soundtrack. The acting is appalling, the sound is terrible, and the violence is pretty awful as well. But it does mark a change, the beginning of a new kind of film. And if I had to pick the next film of that type, it would be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was first released, and I think it was released in around 1976, possibly late 75, early 76, I went to see it 5 nights in a row at the Muswell Hill Odeon. How sad am I? On my own for 4 of those nights. And because I'd never seen anything like that before. I'd never seen anything so atmospheric. I'd never seen anything so I don't know. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you think about it, is a film about a family. They all used to work in the local slaughterhouse, and now they're unemployed because the abattoirs closed down. So they've got nothing much to do but kind of kill and torture anybody who comes within 100 yards of their sort of territory. And again, it's the usual story of the innocents abroad. This innocent group of people just happened to fall upon this absolutely mad family, and they carve them up in various ways. And there's some grandparents who really have to be seen to be believed. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is essentially I like it for its menace and its otherworldliness. I mean, the violence is minorly compared to what you get nowadays. I mean, CSI Vegas is more violent than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it marked something. It was pushing the boundaries that much further. A less well-known film, but one I want to mention here because it gets very little attention, is Tobe Hooper's next film, which was Funhouse, or The Funhouse. Again, very hard film to get. A fantastic film, really, really good film, really scary. More of a scary film than a horror film. There's not much real horror in it, and I would really, if you can get hold of Funhouse or The Funhouse, I would watch it. It's an absolutely fantastic film. The next film that shows up on the radar has got to be Halloween. Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, made in certainly released in the UK in 1978. I went to see it at the Screen on the Green. Had a huge impact on me. It plays a little too much on the make you jump type of thing, where you sort of see the guy, then you don't see the guy. It's also one of the first films to have the monster that won't die. It was Michael Myers won't die. Whatever you do to him, however many ways you kill him, he's like the kind of modern version of Rasputin. And a fantastic film. And John Carpenter, for a few years, made a consistent string of absolutely fantastic films. Prince of Darkness was a fantastic film. The Fog was a brilliant film. And but if I had to choose a John Carpenter film of that sort of that time that really stood out, it was the remake of The Thing with Kurt Russell. Just an absolutely fantastic film, and really highly recommended. The special effects are what everybody tends to go on about, but there's far more to it than that. It's a really, really, really good film. The next film that kind of catches the if you like, the eye is Nightmare on Elm Street. to kind of change a direction, particularly for Wes Craven. And Nightmare on Elm Street isn't really a horror movie. Not to me. It introduces the idea of Fred and Freddy Krueger, but it plays on a very fundamental human fear of sleep, and the difference between the conscious and the subconscious, and when we're sleeping and when we're awake, blurs the boundaries between them. And Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is one of the scariest films I've ever seen. It is brilliantly scary. There's a scene where he's in the classroom and he dozes off, and he sees the girl at the window being sort of carted off down to the basement. And there's a very good mix of an ordinary school. You go down to the basement and there you are in the boiler room where Freddy's ready. And after that it became a franchise, and you got Freddy Pizzas, and Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund, becomes a bit of a almost a comedy character. And but Nightmare on Elm Street really was a return to a scarier film, and one that I really liked. There was then a bit of a boring period where the sort of emphasis was away from the horror genre, and there were a lot of films that were remade in the 80s, and you still had films like Necromantic and Necromantic 2, but really you had the Arnie films, Terminator, which I'll cover separately because they fall into a different category, but nothing really that made you sit up and take notice. And so I just want to fast forward very quickly, because I don't like to make clips that are too long, and look at three quite recent films, all based on found footage, and all of which are pretty scary. The Blair Witch Project, Cloverfield, and Paranormal Activity, one of my favourites. Blair Witch Project was a very scary film, but it's one of those films that is very subjective. Depends where you watch it, when you watch it, the environment. Because basically not that much happens, and you've got to be taken in by. You've got to believe the idea of the film being scary for it to be scary. But if you do, I think it's a very, very scary experience. Cloverfield, which is not really Cloverfield is more of a monster film. It's more of a sci-fi, aliens from outer space smashing up New York whilst being filmed on webcam, but again, found footage. And there's the fact that it's found footage is what makes Cloverfield very scary. What I also like about Cloverfield is you never see the monster. All good monster movies, you never see the monster. If you think of Alien, 1979, one of the classic horror movies, really, you never see the monster. You only see the monster right at the end when it's ejected from the ship that she's on, and then you see, for the only time in the whole film, right at the very, very end, the monster. Cloverfield is a great film, and I'd recommend it to anybody, although it can make you feel slightly nauseous with the handheld camera. Paranormal Activity, while you will already have hopefully seen my clip on Paranormal Activity, absolutely fantastic film, and I'll warn you though that there's a copy going around which has got good reviews for some reason, called Paranormal Entity. If you come across Paranormal Entity in your local Blockbusters or wherever you might be, do not rent it, buy it, see it. It's a complete rip-off of Paranormal Activity. Not only is it a rip-off, it's a bad rip-off of Paranormal Activity. It's a terrible film. It's not scary. It doesn't have anything like the, it's a weak copy. So I wouldn't bother. So anyway, that's been a bit of a ramble through a few favourite films, and I'll be back soon, hopefully, to review something more contemporary, or even maybe do a TV programme. Maybe Geeky Cinema has had its day for Deadpan Sam for the time being. So here I am signing off. Good night, film lovers, TV lovers, and we will speak again very, very soon. Good night.